Hi students, this is Mrs. Marinelli from Business 270. This PowerPoint video is going to review Microsoft Office Word and then introduce creating memos. Microsoft Office Word is a word processing program. There are different word processing programs. This just happens to be one of them, one of the most used. They're used to create documents such as memos that we'll learn in this lesson, reports, letters, mailing labels, tables, graphics, flyers, and then we save them as files on either a thumb drive, the web, the hard drive. So we're creating documents and saving them as files so you can open them and edit them and use them later. We can change the font, which is what the print looks like, the size of it. It has spelling and grammar tools. We can type and edit. We can delete. We can insert. We can copy, move, format text and what it will look like, the color. We have mail merge feature and many other options in this program. We will be learning memos, letters, tables, and one style of a report. This is the basic Microsoft Office Word window. Yours might look a little differently depending on the version that you are using. But overall, this is the basic look of it. So this at the top, these are your file tabs. It's like in a restaurant. Each tab has different options in them. Each tab opens a different ribbon that goes across under the tabs. And each ribbon is broken into groups. And some of the groups will have a little arrow, and that arrow will open up a launcher and give you more choices. This is your insertion point. When you start to type, that's where your letters will appear. Across the top is your quick access toolbar. These are for buttons that you use frequently. You can click on the arrow and choose which buttons you want on the quick access toolbar. The title bar across the top shows the name of the program that you're using and the file name that's been given. We've gone over minimize, maximize, restore down. This is your scroll box. If you have typed more than what shows on a page, you can scroll up and down to see the top or the middle or the bottom. Your zoom slider, I usually slide mine to make my level bigger so I don't have to put my glasses on. This is your vertical ruler, and this is the horizontal ruler. So we'll learn to change margins and set tabs using the ruler and indents. Down at the bottom is your status bar. So it'll show you what page out of how many pages you are on. Okay, to start a document, you would click on your Word button on your taskbar from your Windows menu, your main Windows menu, and you would click Open Word and open a blank document, and then you're into Word to be able to start a document. From the beginning, it's probably a good idea for you to turn on your Show Hide button, because you have to know if you have the right amount of line spacing, and that will help you determine that. Line spacing, single space means you're leaving 0 blank lines. So when the program wraps as you're typing, or you hit the enter key, there's no blank lines. One line and then the next line. Double space means you are leaving 1 blank line, which is what I have here, although it's a wide line. Quadruple space means you're going to leave 3 blank lines. The vertical line spacing for Word 2016 and 19 is 1.15. That's the default. And the default also adds spacing after you hit the enter key. It adds extra space in between. We don't want that, so we will learn to change the default to 1, which is single space, and we will remove that extra spacing. So this is your vertical ruler, and this is your horizontal ruler. Whoops. And we can change the vertical and the horizontal margins either by going into a setting on the ribbon, or we can just do it from the window, the Word window. The gray area shows your top margin, which is 1 inch by default. And the gray area also shows your left and right margins, and the default is also 1 inch. The white area is the writing line. So paper that we used for typing is 8.5 by 11, unless you're using legal paper. So we need side margins, top and bottom margins. So by default, you have a 1 inch top margin, 1 inch will be blank, and 1 inch on the sides. If you're not seeing the ruler, if you go to the View tab on your ribbon, if you open up the View tab to open up the ribbon, there's a Show group, and in the Show group there's a ruler. You want a check mark, so you just click on that to have a check mark. Sometimes the ruler, for whatever reason, you may sit on somebody else's computer and their ruler isn't turned on. You can turn it on by going to the View tab, the Show group, check for ruler. By default, there's a tab set every ½ inch. If you look on your keyboard, there's a tab key next to the Q. Every time you hit it, it will jump spacing over a ½ inch at a time. There's also different types of tabs. The default is a left tab, meaning it's going to align at the left. This is your tab identifier. And if you click on it, it changes from left tab, center tab, right tab, decimal tab. So the left tab is the default. And if I don't want a ½ inch tab, if I click on the 1 inch mark, it will bypass the 1 inch, the ½ inch mark, and set a tab at 1 inch. So that 1 inch is really 2 inches from the edge of the paper, because 1 inch is left blank and you want an additional tab set another inch. So it's really 2 inches on the paper, 1 inch on the ruler. So the default top margin is 1 inch. We want a 2 inch top margin for a memo. So on single space, we will enter 4 times for a 2 inch top margin. There's other ways to do it, but this is the easiest. And if your document goes to a second page, you don't have to worry about fixing the top margin. It'll be right. So when you type a memo, which is a document that goes to the people within your organization. So if I'm typing a memo to an employee at COS regarding COS work, no matter if they work on the Hanford campus, Visalia campus, or Tulare campus, it's an inter-office memorandum because the document is from somebody within the organization to somebody within the organization. So we'll have 1 inch side margins, 2 inch top margins, 1 inch on both sides and 1 inch on the bottom. So we would type 2 colon, and we're going to have a tab set at 1 inch. So 2 colon tab type. We'll be on single space, so we'll enter twice, type from, colon, tab, whoever it's from, 270 student. Enter twice, date. Use the current date, don't abbreviate the date. Enter twice, subject. The subject is Memos, enter twice. And then you're ready to type the body. And the body is single space with a double space between. So you'll enter twice when you start a new paragraph. You'll enter twice between the last line of the body, and this is called the reference initials. So my initials are RM, so I would put a lowercase r and a lowercase m. And if I'm sending an attachment or an enclosure with it, I would double space and type enclosure or attachment, whichever it is. Sometimes people will say what it is. So attachment, document to be signed and returned. It's your wishes. So again, the default margins for Word are 1 inch all the way around. So we need to change it to 2 inches, and we'll leave the side and bottom margins at 1 inch, which are also the default. To save a document as a file, if you're saving it for the first time, you need to do a save as, file save as, and you'll give it a document name, and you have to say where you want it to go. So as though you were in file management, do you want it on your thumb drive, hard drive? Do you want it on your cloud? Another reason to use save as, if you want to rename a document or save it someplace else. You've already saved it, you want it in a new place. So now you can close it and open it for later and edit it. You can print it. You can add a footer, and then just click save to save on top of what's already been saved.